The first part of our elite throwing progression is going to be what we call our arm pulls. The player is going to start with their feet pointing directly at their throwing partner and be a pretty minimal distance apart from each other. The goal here is that the only thing moving for us is going to be our arm. The glove starts tucked as if we've already completed that part of our throwing motion. We start with the baseball out in front of us. As you'll see right here, we have glove tucked, baseball out in front of us. We're then going to let the elbow lead our pull back. We like to teach the kids that it's almost like thinking about pulling a bow and arrow back, and then we're going to let the hand attack forward. So again, glove tucked, elbow leads the pull back, hand attacks forward. For those players that are working on throwing multiple pitches when they go through this progression, we suggest they throw 3 fastballs, 3 changeups, 3 cutters, or breaking balls and work through their progression in that way. The next step in our elite throwing progression is going to be what we call our high-lows. Again, the feet are pointed directly at the throwing partner. We're approximately 1 large step back from where we were with our arm pulls. This time, however, we have our glove and our hands together off of our chest like we would as a pitcher. The big key here, as we see as we go to separate our hands, we want to kind of create a stop in our separation where we'll notice that our glove is higher than our hands. So Nolan, my son here, has a pretty definitive high-low to his throwing motion. There are other kids that will not be that different. We just want to make sure that glove is higher than our throwing hand. One of the other big things is we want to make sure that the hands are really driving that separation and the body rotation versus just turning at our waist. What we'll see as he starts to go forward here, and one thing to look for when these guys do that is we should see a pretty quiet and still head. We want to make sure that we see this glove going down in here and really tucking for us into that same type of position we saw when we were looking at our pulls from there. The player is going to be balanced enough in his feet, and again, just really letting that arm work for him, that when they complete this motion, they're not falling over or off balance when they complete it. One of the keys to all these throwing progressions is that we want the players to be firm versus hard. And so when we look at this at full speed, and we complete it. So one of the big things here is just to make sure there's not a lot of extra body movement. We want to make sure the hand path is clean. So if you're playing catch with your son or watching kids throw, we want to make sure we're not seeing side spin on the baseball, that we're seeing a true 4-seam rotation. Similar to arm pulls, if guys are throwing secondary pitches, they should do an equal number of throws on each pitch. The third step in our throwing progression is going to be what we call power stance. The player's going to start with their feet spread apart as if they've already taken their stride toward their partner. Hands are off my chest. For a pitcher, this is going to be similar to what your set position looks like. The player is going to start by moving their weight forward, and then on their way backwards, we're going to separate our hands. Again, making sure that we're in that good high-low position with the glove higher than my throwing hand. One of the things to look for here is that when we're moving, what we're doing is teaching our body to get some weight loaded up into our backside and feel that happen. However, what we see with a lot of kids is they'll just kind of go through the motions of this drill, and we'll really just start to see swaying versus actual body and weight movement. From there, they're going to go ahead and finish their throwing action. And in this one of the big things we're looking for is that they are going to work on clearing their hips and finishing with both toes pointed forward. In the first progression of this, the players are not going to finish their back leg. And that means, as you'll see here with Nolan, that he's not lifting that back leg up off the ground, but he is finishing his hips and moving forward in that way. And let's take a peek at that thing in full speed. All right, so that's the gist of that one. The second variation on that is going to be where he is going to go ahead and do the same thing, but he is going to go ahead and finish his backside. And so there you can see his back foot coming forward at the end of that. The goal here is to let that release point really work out in front of for these guys. We should be seeing a true ball flight where it is going online. We want high-low misses are release point related. Misses to the left and right are going to be related to mechanics, and we don't want to see those. For pitchers, the next phase of our throwing progression is to get ourselves about back to where our normal throwing distance is. We call this rhythm throws, and as the name would indicate, the purpose of the drill is to create rhythm in our throwing motion. Players are going to start in their set position, making sure our hands are off of our chest. As we lift our leg up, we want to see our glove and our hand tap as we get to that, as my knee hits the top part of its motion. So knee, tap my hands and my glove, and then we will move forward and finish the pitch. So again, in full speed, we're going to go up, tap at the top, and go. Just like all the other parts of our throwing motion, we can mix in secondary pitches here and that kind of stuff. One of the good things that we can work on with the kids through this is try to create that really good 1, 2, 3 timing as they go through their motion. The next phases of our throwing program, really, as we start to back up, we're going to go toward the ability to step and throw. I like guys from those distances that are infielders to focus on, hey, maybe we're making a few throws from a fielding position where we're incorporating a shuffle. Guys that are receiving, if you're playing catch with brother, mom, dad, whomever it may be, mixing, going ahead and catching the ball and acting like we're making a tag at a base. Our goal then is to stretch ourselves out into kind of a long toss where we're having to shuffle and throw. Through all of that, we want to make sure, and what we really reinforce for these kids is that when they throw the ball, we want it to be with a purpose. We want it to be with a target. And as we get spaced out, I don't need the ball to go super high because I don't want my guys making that throw in a game where they just launch the ball as high as they can into the air. We want to put it on a line or a little bit of an arc so they can drive the baseball and really start to stretch the arm out.